We are live. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and we're back for another Medical Monday, where, of course, I have all of the hot health headlines for you in the news. We have another great show for you today, and I want you to stay tuned because I have a very exciting announcement, and I need your help. Yes, I do, Midheads. I need your help, so I want you to stay tuned. So we'll start off, of course, with my favorite game, Myth versus Fact, and we're talking about sleep deprivation. Yes, going without sleep. We know that Diddy has been all over the news. He is in the headlines. And so we will talk about health in the headlines as it pertains to him in this trial. And one of the witnesses who testified, his assistant, said that he kept her awake once for 5 days straight. That's sleep deprivation, okay? And so we'll talk about the dangerous effects of sleep deprivation. And I want to ask you, how long have you gone without sleep? And then we'll get into our weekly dose where, of course, I'll give you a fresh take on medicine you simply can't get anywhere else. We'll talk about Lizzo and we'll talk about Khloé Kardashian. Why? Because they've been very open about their weight loss journeys. But you know, they're both celebrities. They have access. They have money. They can have personal trainers, personal chefs, all of those things. Let's talk about their weight loss journeys and let's compare them to your weight loss journeys and what you need to be careful of when following celebrity weight loss plans. We'll get into it. And then we'll talk about the Apple Watch. I want you to raise your hand if you have an Apple Watch. I do not. My children do. But there's one man who states that his Apple Watch actually saved his life. And guess what? It looks like it did. Yeah, it actually initiated a 911 call. So we'll talk about how technology can save your life. And then we'll talk about what happens when you skip medications that your doctors prescribe for you. Ooh, let's talk about it. I know a lot of us like to be natural and holistic, but sometimes medicines are necessary. And for those of you who know me, I'm Dr. Frita, and I believe in both. Sometimes we need medications, sometimes we need both, and we always need natural. But anyway, we'll talk about, did an Apple Watch save his life and what happened and why he stopped the medication? Spoiler alert. Last, we'll talk about the summer heat. If y'all are outside, like I like to be, then you know that we've had some extreme heat. Well, extreme heat can cause extreme health conditions, okay? Like heat strokes. So let's talk about how to stay safe in this summer heat and the important warning signs of heat-related illnesses. And then I'll give you my special announcement and tell you how I really need your help. I'm Dr. Frita. This is Medical Monday. Let's get this thing started. Hello. We're live. I'm Dr. Frita. Welcome to Medical Monday. We're about to get started, but you know I'm not doing this thing by myself. To my co-host and practice manager, Miss Shador, please come onto the front of the stage. How are you doing, Shador?
Hey, Dr. Frita. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I had a good weekend. 4th was on Friday. We went out, did some fireworks, so watched them, so to speak, for a little while. Wasn't that nice and relaxing? No complaints here.
Very good. Yeah, I definitely had a very exciting weekend. We definitely did not exactly at all, by any degree, celebrate 4th of July because, you know, my oldest child, Amara, who goes to FAMU, she's in the Marching 100. Hello, trumpets. I asked her what she wanted to eat for 4th of July, and she said, I don't care. And I'm looking at her like, why do you have an attitude? And she's like, literally, on quote unquote Freedom Day, my people were still considered to be 3/5 of a person and they were still in bondage and slaves. So I really don't care what we eat on the 4th of July. I said, okay, let me get me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I did have a nice, happy and relaxing day nonetheless. And we are going to have a happy day today, Shador, but it's going to be pretty serious because of course we have some medical issues that we're going to discuss, and we're going to take what's in the headlines and we're going to use it to help everyone to have a healthier, happier life. And then I'm going to also make an announcement, and MedHeads, everyone who's here joining, I need you today. I need your help, and I'll tell you how. First, Shador, who was the first one in the chat?
First one in the chat today is Miss Aileen.
Hi, Miss Aileen.
And shout out to our member, Miss Andrea. She says, happy blessed Monday, Dr. Frita and Miss Shador.
Hey, blessed Monday right back to you. Thank you. And thank you for being a member. All right. So we are going to get into our myth versus fact. and we'll be talking about sleep deprivation. But first, I want to share with you all something that's going on tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll need you to come right back here, right back on this channel, and I'll have a link for you. In fact, I have a link for you on how to come back and how to get a notification. But I want you to support me because I'm going to be doing a very exciting show tonight. It's called Truth Talks Live. Okay. It's like the TMZ for the culture. And I'll be on there talking on their new Truth Talks Medical Mondays segment. And so I really need y'all to come, to show out, to show up, and to support me and let them know that on the Dr. Frita channel, the med heads do support. And so let's go ahead and play that promo clip, please, Shador. In case you haven't heard, I need you to slide on over to YouTube weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and join at Truth Talks Live. Why? Because your favorite doctor, me, Dr. Frita, is the newest co-host on Truth Talks Season 2. I'm joining pop culture icon Teray and viral sensation Dr. Cheyenne Bryant every week for the new Truth Talks Medical Mondays segment. And trust me, this is not your regular talk show or podcast. We're talking the truth that they don't want you to hear on politics, culture, the streets, our health, the system. We've got it all. I need all my people, my fans, my family to hit that subscribe button and bell so you know when we're going live. It's exclusive, it's unfiltered, and it says what others won't. So what are you waiting on? Join the conversation. Truth Talks Live, weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on YouTube, right after Roland Martin's Unfiltered. Yay! So I want y'all to come. You know, as I mentioned, Teray will be there. And y'all know Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I know the first time I saw her going super viral was with her Cam Newton interview. And so they are hosts. I'm their new co-host, talking about the medicine side of things. And we're going to have a Diddy special to start. So y'all, please come out. Please, please, please come back. Mark your calendars for tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Truth Talks Live. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show. All right, Shador, let's get into this game. Now, you know we've been keeping you updated on all things medical, right? With Diddy. From gray gums, what causes gray gums, what causes yellow eyes. We've talked about the effects of pink powder. We've talked about the effects of ketamine, Liquid X, Molly, all of those things. We've talked about UTIs. We've talked about mouth sores. We've talked about STDs. Okay, PTSD. We've talked about all things medical. And we're going to keep talking about all things medical as it pertains to the Diddy trial. And so we'll start off with this myth versus fact situation. But first, Shador, let's see here. Let's first play the clip, and then we'll come back and we'll ask the myth versus fact questions. This is someone who testified in the Diddy trial, and she says that she would have to stay up all night, and the longest she ever stayed awake was 5 days straight. 5 days straight. All right, let's play this clip, and then we'll get into the myth versus fact.
Today we heard from another former employee of Sean Diddy Combs. A woman testifying under the pseudonym Mia took the stand. She says her salary was around $65,000 as a personal assistant to Combs. Mia says her first 24 hours on the job, she didn't sleep. When asked about the longest stretch of time she went on the job without sleeping, she testified 5 days. Mia said the job was to protect Combs at all times and anticipate his needs, whims, and moods. Mia testified she couldn't leave Combs' homes without permission. She said she didn't get time off, was cursed out, berated, humiliated, her job constantly threatened by Combs. Mia also told the jury she witnessed Combs abuse his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, telling the jury she saw Combs, quote, crack her head open. Ventura and stylist Deontay Nash previously testified about this incident. Mia told the jury that Combs was screaming at Ventura because she hadn't answered his phone call. Mia says she jumped on Combs' back and he threw her into a wall and she, quote, realized we're in real danger. She told the jury, much like Ventura and Nash did, that Combs picked up Ventura and slammed her head into the corner of the bed frame, her head gushing blood. Mia thought he was going to kill her. Mia also described a party at Prince's house that she went to with Ventura without Combs' permission. Ventura also testified about this. Mia said they were having fun. Then Combs showed up. Quote, I saw his bucket hat come through the entrance. She says she locked eyes with him and thought, quote, oh crap. She told the jury they booked it, running through the house to the yard to hide in the bushes. Combs, however, she says, caught up to Ventura and started attacking her. She says Prince's security intervened.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. And let's talk about what happens when you go without sleep. All right, Shador, myth versus fact question number 1, or statement number 1, please.
Yes. It's impossible for the human body to survive 5 days without sleep.
It's impossible for the human body to survive 5 days without sleep. And you know, by now, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, you know that Sean Diddy Combs was found not guilty on 3 of the 5 charges, including not guilty for the RICO charge, which was the one that carried a potential life sentence. And when you're talking, you know, the aftermath, and even some jurors who have now gone on interviews are saying that they found a lot of these witnesses not to be credible. And so Mia said that she went 5 days without sleep. And you have some people questioning, is that even possible? So put an M1 if you think this is a myth, an F1 if you think this is a fact. All right, myth versus fact statement number 2, please.
You can erase a week's worth of sleep deprivation by sleeping in on the weekend.
All right, a week's worth of sleep deprivation. You can erase it by sleeping in on the weekend. Put an M2 if this is a myth, an F2 if this is a fact. I love this game.
Mm-hmm.
I do. All right. We have another myth versus fact statement.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Going 5 days without sleep can cause hallucinations and emotional breakdowns.
All right. Going 5 days without sleep can cause hallucinations and emotional breakdowns. An M3 if this is a myth, an F3 if this is a fact. All right, pencils down, pencils down. Let's see if I tripped any of y'all up and if we have a mixed bag. I love a mixed bag. And let me tell you, these myth versus fact statements really hit home to me because when I was doing my residency at Georgetown University Hospital, I was doing my dual internal medicine and pediatrics residency. And way back when I was a resident, that was before a lot of the rules and protections for residents and getting enough sleep were there. So you know, now there are rules to protect residents post call, at least when things were getting started. They had to be allowed to go home by noon if they've been up all night and been working. Back when I first started, we didn't have those same rules. And so if you were up all night on the floor doing procedures, surgeries, taking care of patients, and then the next morning came and it was time to round, you could stay there all day and all night and keep going. And I'll be honest, there was kind of this honor and pride when you stayed late. They'd be like, oh, you were here on call last night? Oh, you still gonna stay and do some procedures? Oh, you a real one, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, I liked being a real one, but being a real one meant that I had sleep deprivation. So now there are rules to protect residents, but I initially came up during old school. And so I can tell you firsthand about some of these sleep deprivation symptoms. And once we go over these answers, I want you all to put in the chat what you think some symptoms of sleep deprivation might be. All right, Shador, for this first one, let's see what answers we got. If you read this one again, statement 1.
It's impossible for a human body to survive 5 days without sleep.
What do we have?
Bag on this one. So Anton.
Hi, Anton.
Anton says a fact.
It's a fact that it's impossible to survive 5 days without sleep. Okay.
T Chosen agrees it's a fact.
That you can't go 5 days without sleep. So that sounds like, so you seem like one of the people, like some of these jurors who didn't think she was telling the truth that she went 5 days without sleep. Okay.
Randy says a fact. Hi, Randy.
Hey, Randy. Welcome. So you think it's a fact that it's impossible to go 5 days without sleep. Okay.
Marina says a myth.
A myth. Marina, how you going to go against the grain? You think it's a myth. Now, you might not think it's a great idea, but you think it is possible to go 5 days without sleep. All right, I see you. We'll see.
And our member Andrea agrees that it's a myth as well.
She thinks it's a myth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And over on IG, I am Dorothea. She says myth.
Hi there. So you say it's a myth. Welcome from IG. Let's see. Now, did I do anything for y'all on IG? Oh, I sure did. Listen, after you finish this live, I did do a post on Friday about the heat, how to stay safe in the heat. Okay. And I talked about the fact that heat related illnesses, the heat is the number one cause of people passing away from weather related illnesses. Okay. So heat is the number one cause of people passing away when it comes to weather related illnesses. And this is according to the National Weather Service. And so I know we talk and say, oh, it's hot. Oh, and we complain. And, but we still go outside, we exercise, we do our activities, we mow the lawn, we do gardening, we do all these things outside. But understand, you can be unalived if you don't respect the heat. So on IG, once y'all finish with this live, check that out. I give a short form content that's really helpful. But welcome from IG. All right, let's talk about the answer that it is impossible to stay awake for 5 days. Myth versus fact. Can we get a drum roll, please? It's a myth. It's a myth. It actually is possible to stay awake for 5 days. Now, for those of you who said that it was a fact that it's impossible, now it's not a good idea and it's not sustainable long term, but absolutely 100% you can stay awake for 5 days. And so it is possible that Mia was telling the truth just based on possibilities. In fact, the longest recorded time that someone has stayed awake with zilch sleep at all, 11 days. 11 days. That's the longest recorded time that someone's gone without sleep. So if someone has stayed awake for 11 days recorded without sleep, then they can stay awake for 5 days. Now, is it a good idea? I think not. And we'll get into some of the symptoms. In fact, please go ahead and start putting some of the symptoms in the chat. What do you think happens when you have sleep deprivation? All right, let's do myth versus fact question number 2, por favor.
Yes, ma'am. You can erase a week's worth of sleep deprivation by sleeping in on the weekend.
Okay. And I think a lot of us have, been hanging out or having to work or had a big project to finish and have cut back on sleep. Definitely, I know during med school, if I had big exams coming up, and I'm just going to tell the truth, I'm not recommending it, but there were nights where I would get 3 hours, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, sometimes 2 hours, like all during that week, and then when the weekend came, I would sleep in. But is it true? Can you really catch up after a week's worth of not getting sleep? Can you just catch up on the weekend? What do we have? What do they say?
All right. So Miss Arlette, hello.
Hi, Miss Arlette.
She says a myth.
It's a myth. Like you can't really just catch up like that. Okay. Hi, Miss Arlette. Yeah.
Miss Darlene agrees. Also a myth.
It's a myth. Okay.
Purple Onion, welcome in. Says
hey,
a myth.
A myth. Y'all aren't buying it. You know what? Okay.
Miss Flora on Facebook. Hey, over there. She says a myth.
Welcome from Facebook. Welcome from Facebook.
So she's a myth as well.
All right.
And Miss Sherry agrees, a myth.
Miss Sherry agrees that it is a myth. All right. So you don't think you can just make up, like you can have rollover points and then just make up for it on the weekend. All right. The answer is, it is a myth. It is a myth. Now, sure, you can get some extended sleep, maybe 8, 10, 12 hours on the weekends, and you can say that you're quote unquote making up for it. But if you've been sleep deprived all week, then some of those negative effects, especially if you chronically go without sleep, you really can't just catch up on those. And so it's important to try to get adequate amounts of sleep each night. If you miss an hour or so here or there, that won't be detrimental. But if you have chronic sleep deprivation, we're talking about some real problems, which we'll get into. All right, let's do this last myth versus fact question. And then I'll see what y'all said, med heads, here on YouTube, in the replay crew, on IG, on Facebook. I'll see what you say when you talk about some of these signs and symptoms of sleep deprivation.
All right, statement 3. Going 5 days without sleep can cause hallucinations and emotional breakdowns.
All right. Who said myth? Who said fact?
R. Barnes, hello, said
Hi, R. Barnes.
Fact.
It's a fact. Okay.
Mr.
Hey,
says a fact.
All right.
Ephioma agrees that it's a fact.
Very good.
Abdul says a myth.
Abdul, you probably one of the people who you probably think you can't really go 5 days. Or Abdul, do you go 5 days and not have hallucinations? Okay. So you say it's a myth. Okay.
Yeah. And Jose saying it is a fact.
Hi there, Jose. It's a fact. If you go that long, you can have hallucinations and so forth. All right. Well, the answer is it's a fact. It's a fact. So it's a fact that you can go 5 days without sleep. But if you do, you're going to be met with some complications, including hallucinations and more. Okay. So you can imagine under these work conditions, if the young lady Mia testified, assuming she's telling the truth, of course, we don't know. She's there. This is what she alleges. If she went days without sleep and even 5 days without sleep, then we're talking hallucinations, but there are lots of other complications you can have from sleep deprivation as well. Did anyone in the chat weigh in just yet?
Yes, Miss Cynthia, I remember. Hello.
Hi, Miss Cynthia. Thank you for being a member.
She says loss of concentration.
That's very good. Loss of concentration, cognitive issues, that can definitely happen. Which, listen, as I'm telling you these things, this is so surreal, Miss Cynthia, because like I said, as a resident and as a medical student, literally, at least initially, before the rules were in place, I had a lot of sleep deprivation. Don't worry now. When I come on here and I talk to you, when I see my patients, I'm fully rested. So don't y'all worry about that. But imagine being a doctor and the one in control of people's health, and you have sleep deprivation. And just like you're saying, you can have a lack of concentration. That's an issue. Oh, and for those of you who are new to me, I'm Dr. Frita. I am an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I have been quadruple board certified. So I'm a board certified nephrologist, meaning I'm a kidney doctor and a high blood pressure doctor. I have also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, and obesity medicine. And we're going to talk about living with obesity before this show is over. And so I thank you for joining me on all of these various platforms. Here on the YouTube channel, we have over 879,000 subscribers, and we have hundreds and hundreds of videos of evidence-based medicine where I hit on all of my specialties and more. And for those of you who have been here, my ride or dies, my true blues, my med heads, I'm counting on you tonight. As I mentioned, I'm on Truth Talks live tonight. Don't worry, you can just come right here to the Dr. Frita channel where you always come, but check in, please, at 8 p.m. Be active in the chat. Let them know that we're there because they have a new Truth Talks Medical Monday segment, and yours truly will be on it. And we're talking more things about Diddy. I'll go ahead and give you that tonight, but then we'll be talking about, as the weeks go on, more and more and more. And so I really need your support. Y'all come over from YouTube, come over from IG, from Facebook. Those of you in the replay crew, it's going to be at YouTube. So you can come right here on my Dr. Frita YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Go ahead and mark your notification. In fact, if you click the link in the description, there's a notify me button and you can just get a reminder. I really need your support and I really appreciate you. All right. So who else? So that's a good one. Yeah, you can have a loss of concentration. You can have cognitive issues. What are some other signs and symptoms of sleep deprivation?
All right, Marina listed a few for us.
Hi, Marina.
Increased frustration.
Okay.
Anger and emotional instability.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about this, Marina. So if you're up for 24 hours, okay, you just miss one night of sleep, then you can have, a little irritability. Definitely you're tired. But as far as more severe symptoms, those are really going to hit once you start going 48 hours and certainly 72 hours without sleep. But yes, when you have sleep deprivation, it can affect you emotionally. So yes, you can be angry. You can be emotionally labile. You can have anxiety. You can have depression. You can have impulse control when it comes to your emotional reactions. And so imagine sitting up in the hospital, me being a young, ambitious resident, if I've gone, pushing 36 hours without sleep, which I did sometimes, I'm just telling y'all the truth. Imagine if I'm supposed to be talking to a patient and maybe I explained something twice already, and the third time they still don't get it. Having sleep deprivation would make you more likely to be irritable and to lash out. I did not do that, but I'm sure lots of people did. And so I don't recommend the sleep deprivation. I'm so glad. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Oh, yeah. Anyone else? Thank you, Marina.
Yeah. Sheree has added brain fog and accident.
Did you say accident?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now listen, Sheree, those are really good. So absolutely the brain fog. Okay. A difficulty in the way that you are focusing, a difficulty in executing simple tasks, okay, a difficulty in executive functioning, and yes, accidents. Now, once you start pushing it like that 5 days sleep deprivation, and it could start as early as 3 days of sleep deprivation, but certainly by 5 days, you can get micro sleeps where you are falling asleep for a matter of seconds and you don't even realize you're falling asleep.
Mhm.
So imagine if you are in the car and one of these micro sleeps hit and you just fall asleep. What can happen? Okay. You can have an accident, take yourself out and take others out. And I'll share this again. I'm not proud and I've shared it before. It's just what it was. If I were pushing it going 36 hours without sleep, and this was back before they had Uber and before Lyft, I would hop in my car. Yes, I did. And each time I would get to a stoplight, I would put the car in park because I figured I would probably fall asleep. And then when I would hear somebody honking behind me to wake me up, I would put the car in drive. And I did that all the way home. Again, I don't recommend it, but I'm just telling you, sleep deprivation is real. And when you're in certain situations where you want to impress your boss. So in my case, I wanted to impress my attendings, the physicians who were supervising me, my senior residents. And so before those rules were put in place to protect other residents and me, then especially being a female, especially being at that time the only Black female in my particular residency program, I just felt like I had everything on my back. I had to represent everyone. And the last thing I wanted to do was be thought of as the lazy doctor who wanted to leave because she was sleepy, And so I took this on, and I'm just very thankful that now the powers that be made the rules to protect residents, because yes, you can have accidents. I did not have an accident, and I thank God for that, but it's not because it couldn't have happened. Sleep deprivation is real. And certainly for the physicians who are in charge of your life, we have to get our sleep. We have to avoid brain fog, accidents, and a lack of executive functioning. Anybody else? Look.
Yeah, our barns share. I'm sorry, our barns.
Our barns. Hi.
When I am sleep deprived, I have night terrors.
Ooh, see? Okay. So being sleep deprived can then go back and affect your sleep. So let's talk about that, R. Barnes, because some people think that when you're asleep, it's kind of a shut off and your brain's not really, active in any meaningful way. But that's the opposite of the truth. When you go to sleep, your brain is very busy and it is actually processing and sorting the activities of the day and storing long-term memories. Okay. And so having that sleep and being able to get all the way into the proper stages, stage 4, having REM sleep, all of those, that's important. And so you can imagine if you're sleep deprived and now you go back to sleep, that could throw off your sleep cycle and your memory cycle. And I could see it causing night terrors. So again, it causes major signs and symptoms, and that's very frightening. Thank you for sharing. But yes, the sleep is important. Your brain is doing some work that helps you in your wakefulness while you're asleep.
And I'll share this last one, Dr. Frita. We haven't heard this yet. This is from Miss Darlene. She says nervous breakdown.
What's that?
A nervous breakdown from sleep deprivation.
Absolutely. A nervous breakdown. So yes, you can have anxiety, you can have depression, you can have hallucinations where you see things that aren't there. You can have illusions where you might see something that's there, but it might be, an object or a person who's still, but in your mind, you think that they're doing something or coming to harm you. Okay. So you can have these issues, and it can actually cause physical breakdown as well. Muscle weakness, tremors, it can increase your blood pressure. All of those things can happen. So you can have a breakdown. And then when you have chronic sleep deprivation, like if this is a way of life, which is what in the Sean Diddy Combs trial, this is what Mia testified to, that it was more chronic. Well, then long-term, it can cause long-term stress. And we've talked on here about what stress can do to your health. In fact, I have a YouTube video. Once you finish this live, you can check that out, where I talk about stress, how it affects your health. It can cause an increased risk of being a person living with obesity, increased blood pressure. I'm a high blood pressure specialist. Long-term sleep deprivation, and even short-term for that matter, can cause high blood pressure. And so not having the proper sleep is a major issue. And so I don't want y'all to think of it as sleep being something that's optional or cutting it being something that's optional. And again, every now and then, all of us will have to maybe lose an hour or two, depending on what's going on. But if it's a chronic issue, you really would want to figure it out, because it can cause long-term issues. So who needs sleep? We know that babies and infants need the most sleep. I mean, just take a look at these cute little newborns. They be lazy as all outdoors, Shador. Be sleeping 14 hours a day. All they do is sleep and look cute, but they need it, okay? Newborns and infants need to sleep that long, 14 hours, 17 hours. The younger they are, the longer they need sleep. As children get a little older, they might need a little less sleep. But even still, when you're dealing with like some toddlers and elementary age kids, a lot of them need 11 hours of sleep, 9 hours, 11 hours, elementary school. Now, once you get to be an adult, most adults need anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep, okay, averaging 8 hours. Some people need more, some people need less. At this point, once you're a good grown adult, you have an idea of what you need to function. The point is, knowing how much sleep you need is very important because sleep deprivation can negatively affect your health. And ultimately, it could lead to you being not alive. That's no joke. Mess around and have high blood pressure because of sleep deprivation and see what happens. All right. And make sure, listen, y'all know, but those of you who are new to me, I do have a book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. And I talk about managing high blood pressure, not just with medicine, but also with natural ways, using food as medicine, using diet as medicine, using exercise as medicine, slow, deep breathing as medicine. All right. So yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that robust discussion and some of you sharing what happens to you when you get sleep deprivation. All right, Shador, let's move on into our weekly dose. And for those of you who are just joining, this is Medical Monday. I'm Dr. Frita. And tonight I made my special announcement. I want you to join us tonight, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can come right back here on my channel and we'll be on Truth Talks Live. Yes, with the pop icon Touré, viral sensation, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. You know her, especially when she went viral with Cam Newton. Oh, she gave Cam Newton the business. But we're talking tonight and we're doing a special, okay? A Diddy special, all things Diddy. And I'll be coming in as the medical expert co-host and we'll be talking about that. So please, y'all, I really need your support. I'm not even playing. Y'all know I need your support. So put in your notifications, click the link in the description and come right back here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to check us out on Truth Talks Live. All right, weekly dose. Listen. Put a Lizzo in the chat if you're a Lizzo fan, or if you just kind of have a certain respect for her or appreciate her. Put a Khloe in the chat if you're a Khloe fan. I'm curious to see what Khloé Kardashian fans we have here. So Lizzo in the chat if you're a Lizzo fan or at least respect the game. Khloe in the chat if you're a Khloe fan or at least respect her and respect the game. Because honey, there's a game and they are really winning in a lot of ways. The latest game they've been winning is with their health journeys. Okay. We know that both of them have been in the headlines for weight, living with obesity for Lizzo, living with at least being overweight for Khloe initially before her weight loss. And people have just been cruel to them. Y'all know they have. Now, Lizzo has been in your face and she'll tell you off and do a split and put on some clothes that are very scantily clad. But honestly, a lot of people have trolled her for her size and Khloé Kardashian as well. Well, now, as you've seen, they've lost tremendous amounts of weight and they really emphasize health, okay, being on their health journeys. And so they've shared their different journeys. Let's start off with what Lizzo says about her health journey. And then I want you to put in the chat, what do you think is something that you really have to watch out for when following celebrity health trends?
Lizzo gets honest about her weight loss. The singer reveals the 3 meals she ate to reach her weight loss goals. In an interview with Women's Health published July 1st, she admitted her diet now consists of protein and vegetables, telling the outlet that her breakfast of choice consists of 2 scrambled eggs, chicken sausage, and a cauliflower hash brown. For lunch, she goes for a shredded Thai chicken salad or lettuce wraps with tuna or sliced chicken breast. And dinner consists of turkey meatloaf with cauliflower mashed potatoes and green beans, which she consumes before 5 p.m. The time, she says, is optimal for her health, explaining, "I have GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, so my body needs time to digest food before I go to sleep, so acid doesn't roll up my throat. Although she is consistent with her routine, she listens to her body and will eat food outside of her rotation if she wants." She continued, "There's a balance. I think that's what true health is." Though in true Lizzo fashion, she's staying true to herself. She said, "I'm still wearing plus-size clothing. I have the same rolls. I got the same belly, the same thighs. I think I'm just a smaller version." Before adding, body positivity has nothing to do with staying the same. Body positivity is the radical act of daring to exist loudly and proudly in a society that told you shouldn't exist.
Very good. Okay. So listen, Shador, you remember, for those of you who've been with us for a while, you know that I was on Revolt TV. That was before all of the public Sean Diddy Combs scandal. Actually enjoyed myself each time that I went on Revolt TV, but I was on there once talking about body positivity. You had some people who were against it because they thought that it was promoting obesity. And you had other people's like me. I was for body positivity. And I agree with Lizzo's take. It's not about being big, being small. It's just radically being comfortable in your skin wherever you are, and even if you're in a journey to be healthier. And so that reminds me, and we talked about Lizzo a lot on that episode of Revolt TV. I actually should have it here. If you go to YouTube, to my television appearances, to that playlist, you'll be able to find the Revolt TV or Body Positivity when I did that show. You also find other shows that I'm on, like News Nation, 11 Alive NBC, Fox 5 Atlanta, Good Day Atlanta. For all of my TV appearances, I put them on my playlist here. And I will be putting True Talks Live on that playlist also, that I want y'all to join tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Y'all write that down now. All right. So we're going to move on to talk about Khloe's journey. But first, I want to touch on Lizzo, some of the things that she said. One, I want to know if anyone in the chat, and if you have a Lizzo comment, just like put an L on it or Lizzo before so we know. So I want to know if any of you guys think that she's a hypocrite when she has been running around and saying, like, I'm big and I'm proud and I've got all the big girls dancing with me, and now she lost weight. Do you think that she's a hypocrite, or maybe a fake and a phony? Like maybe she never really was happy being big, but putting on a big body positivity facade. I'm curious to see what you think about that. And then I also want to know what you think about her eating. And do you think that what she's doing for the weight loss, is something that you could do? Or do you think celebrities are really doing some things that are out of our reach? Okay. And another thing, she talks about that she stops eating at 5 p.m. What are the pros and cons of not having anything to eat that early? She stops eating at 5 p.m. She mentioned a pro. She says she has GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, like a heartburn. And so if you eat and then go right to bed, if you lie down right after you eat, that will increase the chances of the acid from your stomach refluxing up into your esophagus. And the esophagus is that tube that connects your throat to your stomach. And so a pro of eating early is going to be, you can decrease your heartburn or GERD symptoms. But what are some of the cons? All right. So let me know if anyone starts coming in, and then I'll give my take. I already told you my take on body positivity. I'm with her on that one.
Yeah. So Ms. VE.
Hi, Ms. VE. Welcome.
Ms. VE says Lizzo's daily food intake seems to be high in sodium content from processed foods.
Interesting. So like what she talked about, meatloaf, she talked about cauliflower hash browns, she talked about chicken sausage, things of that nature. You bring up a great point, VE, because even when you're eating something that's quote unquote healthy, you do have to take a look at the boxes, because a lot of vegan processed foods or vegan prepackaged foods will still need to be preserved, right? And a great preservative is sodium. And so you still want to watch. According to the American Heart Association, it's recommended that most adults have less than 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. And so if she's eating a lot of processed foods, then even if it's healthy, low carb, in other means, then you have to watch the salt content. But you know what, VE, Miss VE, this is where we might get into the celebrity versus regular everyday person. We're assuming that her diet has processed foods, but what if she has a personal chef who actually prepares her cauliflower hash browns at home? If they prepare her chicken sausage from fresh organic chicken, that could change the whole game as far as her sodium load. And so that's one of those things. So I'm actually glad you brought it up. Celebrities versus everyday people. As a celebrity, she might have the resources to have low sodium foods that for most of us, we have to grab them and make them in our, get them in an ultra processed fashion, because we don't have a chef who's sitting at home to make us our vegan and our chicken sausage. Good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of resources, living with type 2 diabetes. Hello.
Oh, that's the name? Living with type 2 diabetes?
Yes.
Oh, bless you. I hope that your health journey is a great one. And for anyone else who's living with type 2 diabetes, please check out the videos that I have here. I have multiple videos on diabetes, how to lower blood sugar naturally, and just understanding what it is. All right. What do you have to say, living with type 2 diabetes?
So Living says, I definitely support both ladies' efforts to get healthier. Of course, they both have more money, time, and resources to focus on the journey.
Yes. So, but I like that. You're not taking away from them, but if you have the willpower, if you have the mind, then yeah, having money won't hurt. It will actually help. It's still, the work still has to be done within. So, like you say, no disrespect at all. The work has to be done from within, but having the resources would help. Okay. Like for me, I have the willpower, I have the journey, I'll go to the gym, but there are many days where I just don't want to. I don't want to put on tights and sneakers. I don't want to put on a sports bra. I don't want to do it. And if I had more resources, perhaps I would just have my personal trainer to come and just be here, just be right downstairs. And that definitely would make things easier, as far as making healthy choices. It's easier to run and grab fast food, especially when you have a bunch of kids like I do and when you're on the go. If I had my own personal chef who did my meal prep and my prepackaged foods and gave me fresh chicken, sausage with low sodium, that would make it easier. But again, still, you have to have the willpower, whether you are rich or if you're broke, you broke. I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no. Okay, who else we have?
Roni. Hey, Roni.
Hi,
Haven't heard
Roni.
from Roni in a while. Lizzo realized health is wealth. I'm happy for her.
Me too. And y'all know I like me some Lizzo. I've been to the Lizzo concert. I'm telling y'all, she is a performer because not only, her songs are fun, they're upbeat, but just she's extremely bright, which I knew that, but I really got to see it firsthand at her concert because she literally goes around, talks to people who are in the audience. She has, I think we were at State Farm and she like sold out State Farm here in Atlanta. And she will look for people who are way up in high seats and she will call them out and shout them out. So she appreciates everyone, not just the people who are in the front row. And she would say the funniest things, comment on their outfits, things that you can't prepare for. And so I'm like, oh, this lady's smart for real. She's sharp on her feet. Honey, she'll pull out the flute. So please don't forget that she's a classically trained flautist. Okay. So yeah, I like me some Lizzo. I'm not going to even pretend there's a bias, but I think that she encourages a lot of people, especially because her end goal was not to be a size 2 or a 0. She says she still wears plus size clothing. However, I guarantee you her now being at a healthier weight would help with her hemoglobin A1C in case there was a problem. It would help to prevent her from having high blood pressure, help to decrease or prevent her from having high cholesterol. So it's a health thing. It's a health thing. And she does look good.
Yeah. I'm glad you said it. I'm afraid of Ilona.
Hi, Ilona.
She says maybe health issues that we don't know about made her decide to take her health seriously.
That's good. I'm glad you said that because it doesn't matter if you're, a heavy size and you're beautiful and you're 300 pounds. I don't know how much she weighed. Health is health. And if you are going to be increasing your risk for diabetes, kidney disease, a heart attack, stroke, all of these things, living with obesity absolutely increases your risk for these health issues. And so you can be happy and heavy set and all of that. But if you lose your life, then what is it? And so that's a good point. People are judging her. A lot of people, I thought she was happy being big. You fake. No. Yeah. It could be a large part of her health journey. Or she might just have wanted to look smaller. Okay. And yes, when you're smaller, some of your features come out, your cheekbones, your jawbone. Maybe she wanted to look that way. Maybe she wanted to move better. Maybe she wanted her joints to hurt a little less if they were hurting. I don't know. Honey, the way she hits those splits, she didn't look like anything was hurting. But the larger you are, the higher risk you have for arthritis, like osteoarthritis, the arthritis that older people tend to get. All right. Any more points before we move on to Khloé's take on her health journey?
We can move along.
Okay. All right. Let's play that clip for Khloé because she lost weight. And I want you to respond in the chat. And you can put a C or Khloé if you think that Khloé is being genuine in this first statement that she makes about whether she was more confident at a larger size or more confident at a thinner size, her current size. So pay attention to what Khloé says and comment if you think she's being genuine or not on her confidence level.
Is the bigger I was way more confident. Like, what are you going to say about me? I know all the things you're going to say. And I would have my days that I would feel low and all of that. And then when I started my fitness journey and like becoming in shape, I felt such a need that I had to keep this up. Like, even if it wasn't for me, I felt like, well, I can't get fat again because everyone's expecting that to happen.
All right, Khloé. Now I see you, Khloé. We've been watching you for a long time and how you've been outside now versus when you were outside, when you were at a larger size and pre-procedures. So did anyone comment? She said that she was more confident when she was bigger because she's like, I already know I'm big. What you going to say to me? But now she doesn't have the same confidence. And I saw more of that interview and I can get into it, but I'm curious to see what people said. She said that, she had more of a private space when she was larger because for whatever reason, people weren't coming up to her. They weren't in her face. And according to her, she was more confident when she was larger. Now she's very thin. We've seen her on all types of magazine covers. She's forever out and about in her bikinis and clothes where you can, see her body and the working out that she's doing. Do you think that she's being honest about being more confident when she was larger, or maybe there's a different word she should use? Anyone comment? I'm curious.
No comments just yet, Dr. Frita.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you the truth. And she's come out and she shared some of the different procedures that she's had done. And again, I'm not mad at her at all. You definitely want to do things that help you to have an increased self-esteem as long as they are, within reason and they're not affecting your health. She just so happens to be in a family full of commercially attractive and people who are considered to be beautiful by the typical standards, the spiciness. Her dad was Armenian, and we know Kim Kardashian, and we know all, Kylie, and Kylie's had her work done. She's come out and shared different work that she's had done. And of course, we have Kendall, who's actually a model. And so she's just been surrounded by people who have been commercially attractive. And she got a lot of flack because the general public did not feel that she was attractive, not only because of her size. She was tall. She was overweight at one point. She was living with being overweight at one point. I don't know if she was ever marked the threshold of obesity, but it wasn't just that. It wasn't just her size. They talked about that baby's face. They talked about her like a dog. So now that she's coming and saying that she was more confident when she was larger, I just don't know if that was the right word choice.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem like that to me. It seems like she's more confident now. Yeah. What are you saying?
Mo, I think Mo has another word, possibly better other than confident. I think she was more comfortable being bigger, but she's definitely enjoying the perks of being in shape.
Yeah, comfortable might be it. Comfortable instead of confident. So in other words, if you go out and you're bigger, and no one is looking at you to see what size is she today, or looking at you, what fashion does she have on, or looking at you to really critique you up and down for perfection, perhaps since the world didn't expect her to have this beauty standard of being super skinny, maybe she meant that when she walked out, she was more comfortable in her skin. Because you look at her, she's larger, she's large, and you're not really going to say anything about her because, hey, it is what it is. I think you're right about that. It might have been the word choice, but her point might have been genuine. I believe her point was genuine. But when she says that she was more confident, that word doesn't seem to really match for me because, yeah.
Yeah, Ilona says if she was so confident, why lose weight? So yeah, I don't think confident was the right word choice.
I agree. Because in her case, unlike Lizzo, and of course, I'm not their doctors, I don't know their size, but Khloe, to me, did not look like she was in a place where she was living with obesity and at a super high risk for a lot of health issues. She was just Los Angeles, Hollywood big, meaning if you're not a 0 or a 2, they'll look at you if you're she's tall. They'll look at you if you're a 5'10", size 8 or 10, like you're big, So, yeah. So in her case, the losing weight, I don't think was all about health. So yeah, I don't think it was confident, but I do think there might have been less pressure, right, than when she was big, because then people aren't looking and giving you all of these compliments. See, that's the thing that probably can really bug you if you're someone. If you are of a larger size and then you lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, and now everyone's saying, oh, you look so good. Oh, you're so beautiful. For me, that would just make me think, well, dog, y'all thought I was ugly before, you little monsters, and then it becomes a pressure. And tell me what you think of that. Y'all can comment, please. Let's keep this conversation rolling along till we get to the next topic. You get the thrill of losing weight, but then there becomes a pressure and a fear of gaining weight. If any of you have been through that, let me know. So in that case, going back to that first word, comfortable, you're probably more comfortable when you're in a weight that you're used to, and that you might be living with being overweight, but at least no one's looking at you with a microscope. Right now, like there's some pictures I saw of Khloe. I don't know her size, but she is close to my height. I think she's like 5'10", and I declare looking at her, she looks like she was a size 2 on some of these pictures. So then what happens is she blows back up to a size 6, which is very thin. Are people going to say, I knew she couldn't do it. She's losing weight. The other thing, when we talk about celebrities, it seems like the knee-jerk reaction was for a lot of celebrities to deny using some weight loss medications, right? Like Ozempic and Mounjaro, things of that nature. And I read an article so initially I know Lizzo was saying, I don't use weight loss shots. I don't use weight loss shots, you know? And I think that she felt that people were trying to take her credit away because she was exercising and working like a junkyard dog to keep that weight off. Now, in another article I read where she says that she has used them in the past, and y'all know that I also am board certified in obesity medicine. I don't see a problem with it. You cannot take someone's credit away, and she's probably not using it regularly, maybe not using it now. But the point is, for a lot of people who were living with obesity who wanted to use weight loss medicines, unless you have a cool $1,300 to spare a month, a lot of people couldn't afford those medicines. So that's another difference between celebrities with access and everyday people whose insurance, you know, is not covering those weight loss meds. Yeah. So either way, I'm proud of both ladies. I wish them the best in their health journeys. I want people to stay out of their faces. Don't look to see if they're going to gain weight, because they might, and nobody here needs you to sit there and comment about it. So, you know, weight loss journeys are very personal. They're private, and whatever you do, I can't stand it when people troll people in the name of health. Like they want to talk about people. I should need to lose weight. I want her to be healthy. She's not healthy. You don't care about people's health. A lot of y'all out there, you're trolls. You're just being mean. So please don't come over in my field and use health as an excuse to troll people. Mind your business. And, you know, I wish both of them, Khloe and Lizzo, the best in their health journey. Any other comments as we move on to our next topic?
No, ma'am.
All right. All right. Listen, put an AW in the chat if you have an Apple Watch, or give me an Apple emoji. Because, honey, this next story we're going to talk about, someone had an Apple Watch and it literally saved his life. And so we're going to talk about it. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask y'all, how many of you have ever skipped taking your medications, especially for a prolonged period of time? Did you actually stop taking the medication? And if so, did you do great, or did you have some consequences? Let's play this clip and let's keep it moving.
The studio tonight. Sophia, did this man see any signs before this happened?
No, Kaylee. Derek Gant didn't see any signs that something was wrong. In fact, he says he never thought something like this would happen to him, since he lives an incredibly healthy lifestyle, from working out daily to maintaining his diet. But he now says he knows why it happened. A terrifying moment caught on camera.
I was having an amazing day.
The moment when then 57-year-old Derek Gant was jump roping as part of his daily workout last July.
And I had decided that I was going to jump longer than I ever had without missing a beat. And so I actually did it. I went about 1 minute and 15 seconds.
When he hit the ground.
I was laying there, not really knowing what was going on, and I couldn't move my left leg or my left arm.
Meanwhile, his Apple Watch going off. At first, he ignores it.
And it says, "It looks like you're in trouble. Do you need some help?" And I looked at it and I go, "I'm going to be fine in a couple minutes."
Then he realizes he's not.
So I tapped the watch and said, "Yes, I need some help." And the watch called all of my emergency contacts. It called 911.
Paramedics arrived within minutes, and Gant realized he had a stroke.
I didn't think it would happen to me, of course, but it was my fault.
Gant says he went off his blood thinners, which caused a clot that went to his head. But within 24 hours, he was nearly 90% recovered, thanks to his healthy lifestyle.
Whether it's activity or watching diet or making sure that your blood pressure is well controlled, you know, they're really the biggest predictors of, you know, living a longer life without any further events.
Gant's neurologist, Dr. Mohammed Juma with ProMedica, credits his active lifestyle for making such a quick recovery.
Oh my goodness. Anyone have any Apple Watches that are popping out in the chat, Shador?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Miss Flora
Hi, Miss Flora.
has one. Ilona,
Hi, Ilona. Okay.
Tisha, and over on IG, Nicole chimed in, and I am Tara has Apple Watches.
Hello, hello. Hey, y'all from IG. Yeah, so, child. Well, my kids have asked for Apple Watches. My two daughters have one. My son doesn't have one. I don't have one. But I'm going to tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. I really didn't realize what health benefits, but I've heard people talk about, you know, their health parameters and them being measured and all of those things. And in fact, yeah, I knew something to the effect that Apple Watches, you know, might, okay, whatever. It'll keep up with your steps. So do smartphones. But this Apple Watch literally did save his life. And so that gives you a new respect for an Apple Watch. And shoot, I'm not getting any younger, so maybe I'll get an Apple Watch. But the really bigger message I want to address is that he said it's my fault. I don't like people really taking blame, but he actually does seem to have some insight and accountability. He literally stopped taking his blood thinners, and so his blood got thick, right? And he had a stroke. He had a clot that went to one of the arteries of his brain. And we see this a lot, Shador, when people have a health issue and they start doing things and they get really healthy, they lose weight, they start exercising, drinking water. The first thing they want to do oftentimes is to stop medications. But if you do that, you simply must consult with your doctor, because you may not fully understand the consequences or the ramifications of stopping medicine. In his case, the blood thinners would have prevented him very likely from clotting. It would have prevented the platelets and the blood cells and the cholesterol plaques from sticking together. The blood thinner would have helped him to do that. And had he consulted with his neurologist beforehand, maybe the neurologist would have changed him from a strong blood thinner like Plavix or clopidogrel perhaps to perhaps something like a low dose aspirin, like an 81 milligram aspirin. I don't know. I'm not his doctor, but at least someone would have worked with him. And I think about Snoop Dogg's daughter, and she shared that she's been living with lupus since she was 6 years old. And at one point she went on a health journey, weight loss journey, and she stopped her medications. And soon thereafter, she had a stroke in her 20s. I believe she was 26. And this just happened in the past year or so. And again, I'm not her doctor. I'm not privy to any of her medical records. But when you have lupus, a lot of times you have thick blood or blood that clots easily. And so has she been consulting with a physician before just stopping all the medicines? They might have said, okay, please at least keep an aspirin going or something like that to keep your blood thin. Again, I don't know her personal medical records. My point is, yes, we want to be healthy. Yes, we want to move toward natural and holistic, but we also need to consult with physicians, those of us who went to school for this thing for a good part of our lives, because, you know, in the end, you're an adult and you can do what you want to do. So don't worry if your doctor says, your doctor's going to tell you if they disagree, but your doctor still may give you some knowledge that you say, okay, well, I'll stop those two medicines, but you have a point. I'll keep this one. Consult with your doctors. Don't just go rogue. Has anyone shared if they have stopped medicines and what has happened with them stopping their medicines?
Yeah, over on IG, Queen World. Hello.
Hey, Queen World.
Queen
She's
World
a
says
queen to me.
she was on Trulicity and was stopped taking because it was causing stomach problems. Took herself off of it and back to her pills with no Apple Watch.
Okay. And, you know, and perhaps that's the right choice. It sounds like it might be for you. I still recommend that in cases like that, just let your doctor know. Just let your doctor know. And even, you know, in some cases, if you go back to something you were on previously, your doctor may have changed a different medicine that now doesn't interact well with the pills. And so fundamentally, the idea of changing things, especially if you're having a side effect, that's not wrong. But I recommend that you consult with your doctor just to make sure you're not missing anything in your choices. Okay, thank you for sharing.
Francis and Tisha has a couple of personal stories.
Oh.
Hey, Francis.
Hi,
Francis says, yes, she has an Apple Watch. I failed last year. My watch called 911 and my phone called my children and chat group. I did end up in an ambulance and going to the hospital. My whole inside of my abdomen was so bruised.
Oh my gosh. So that's another lifesaver. Thank you for sharing. And this is not an advertisement for Apple. Lord knows they aren't a brand partner with me, but these are just real stories. I'm glad it turned out well for you.
And teacher says my watch remind me to take my meds, and that's let me know when to stand is the first thing to put on and last thing I take off.
Very good. All right. So having the Apple Watch helps you to be more compliant with your medications. All right. So these Apple Watches really are out here saving lives in these streets. All right. Thank you for sharing. All right. So let's wrap up with our last story, Medheads. As we close, y'all make sure, please give us a like. If you have not liked us, like us, share this video for sure. We're here giving you evidence-based medicine. Again, I want to thank everyone who follows, who subscribes, who supports us here on YouTube. We have over 879,000 subscribers. We're marching to 900,000 and then 1 million. So please make sure you give us a subscribe. Pop on over to YouTube, give us a subscribe. And, thank you to everyone who's here, the med heads. If you haven't joined the membership, please do, because we do members only lives, all of those things. And so, yeah, thank you. I thank you to all my IG followers, Facebook, everyone. Thank you to the replay crew. As we're going to get into this last story, but for those of you who join us a little later, I have a very important, wonderful thing going on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you to pop right back over here to the Dr. Frita YouTube channel, where you'll be able to watch Truth Talks Live. I am the newest co-host for their new segment, Truth Talks Medical Mondays. We'll be talking tonight. I'll be on there with the pop culture icon Teray, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Yes, the same viral Dr. B, who had her viral moments with many people, including Cam Newton, about him and his fatherhood practices. Honey, she speaks her mind. So we'll be talking about the medical aspect of it. And it's going to be also, of course, airing on at Truth Talks Live, as well as Roland Martin Unfiltered on that channel. So make sure you click the link. I have the description and an option for you to get a notification to come right back here. And at the very end, we might play a little bit more of that clip for those of you who are late coming in. And all right, the last thing.
That's also pinned in the comments on YouTube.
Okay, go ahead into the comments, y'all. Copy and paste and get that link and come on back here, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight to support. I really need you to support me tonight. All right. So it's summertime, y'all, and it's hot. We've had a lot of extreme heat, which is like when it's over 90 degrees for a few days in a row. We've had that. And I know sometimes if you're like me, you're out and about, even when you have your water and you're drinking it, sometimes you don't have enough if you're out in the heat doing strenuous activities. And heat is the leading weather-related cause of people passing away. Okay, so staying safe in the heat is absolutely essential. Let's play this clip. Let me have y'all put in the comments, what are some signs and symptoms of heat-related illnesses like heat strokes, and what are some ways you stay safe in the heat? What are some tips? What tips do you have for staying safe in the heat?
In parts of the country this morning is expected to feel like it's in the triple digits in several major cities, including right here in New York. That's why we sent Janae Norman outside. She's got the latest for us. Good morning there, Janae.
And Robin, as soon as I opened that door, I said, wait a minute, because you feel the heat as soon as you step outside. And that's because for many of the areas experiencing this kind of extreme heat, there was little reprieve overnight. The nighttime lows here in New York felt like 85 degrees, and it's only up from there. This morning, a not so friendly welcome to summer as sweltering heat grips much of the U.S.
It feels like an armpit out here.
It's boiling. It feels like over 100 degrees. Things heating up in Baltimore Penn Station. Passengers stuck on an Amtrak train for over an hour with no AC. The Stray Kids concert canceled right before this encore because of extreme heat in D.C.'s National Park. And New York bracing to see temperatures top 100 degrees, a melting reality that hasn't happened in over a decade. In New York, the city's underground subway system could feel like an oven under these conditions. Crews going car by car, making sure the trains stay cool, as we saw on our ride along with the MTA. So because of that, crews are regularly checking the temperatures and taking cars out of service if they get too hot. An unfortunate circumstance for more than 17,000 customers in Pennsylvania still without power after a massive storm last week. Restoration a top priority for crews there.
Incredibly frustrating, mostly just from the perspective of trying to keep everyone calm. It's going to get incredibly hot.
Philadelphia declaring a heat emergency that started Sunday and will continue until tomorrow. In New Jersey, where attendees at 2 outdoor graduations braved the blistering weather, over 166 guests required emergency medical services on.
Yeah, this heat is a beast. So did anyone share tips on staying safe in the heat? Because I'm going to share a few and I'll make a reference for you guys to go as we close out here. Anyone share anything about heat-related illness, symptoms, or how to stay safe in the heat?
No, not yet, Dr. Frita.
Okay. So listen. So again, you see those people who needed emergency service. That's because the heat can take you out. It can make you pass away. And heat-related illnesses like heat rash, heat cramps, heat exhaustion, heat strokes. Heat exhaustion occurs, you'll know, because you'll have a lot of sweating. You might have heart palpitations, fatigue. You might even have some nausea. But when things progress and they get to heat stroke, you'll actually stop sweating, okay? Your sweat your sweating mechanism will be dysregulated. And so you can actually get dry skin. So if someone's out there in the burning hot heat and they're confused, because you can get confusion, you can even pass out and be unconscious if you have heat stroke. And so you can have dry, clammy skin and be unconscious. And the heat stroke typically occurs when your body temperature is higher than 104 degrees Fahrenheit. That is an emergency. Okay. You don't wait around and see, is this a heat stroke or do we need to wait around? No, you call 911 if someone is having a heat stroke. You get them to a cool place immediately. And guess what? Snatch those hot clothing off of their body. Okay. This is not the time to be shy or timid. Snatch those hot clothes off of their body. Try to get some cool, wet towels on them to cool them off. If you have spray bottles or water, put it on them. Very importantly, if someone is unconscious or they're confused, having altered mental status, do not try to give them anything to drink by mouth. Why? Because you can make them choke or aspirate and you can lead to a pneumonia. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so if they're unconscious or confused, that's not the time to give them water. But tips on staying safe in the heat and preventing getting heat related illnesses. Well, yeah, while they're awake and doing fine, being hydrated is very important. Consult with your doctor to find out, exactly how much water you should be drinking. Most adults, anywhere from 2 to 3 liters a day. But if it's hot outside like that, you're going to want to drink more than that, probably 3 liters of water. And if you're sweating a lot, then sports drinks like electrolyte beverages. Again, consult with your doctor. What else? You want to wear cool, lightly colored, lightweight clothing when it's really hot. Make sure you put on sunscreen, because if you mess around and get sunburned, a sunburn can cause a dysfunction of your sweat glands. And if you can't sweat, then what? You can't cool off. Okay. So make sure you protect yourself with sunscreen, wear hats, sunglasses, things of that nature, and eat foods that are water filled, like fruits, salads, things of that nature when it's really, really hot. If you are traveling about and like going to a cookout, pack the food in a cooler, okay, or take ice packs. And please be careful, because things that spoil easily include dairy products, meat, and mayonnaise-based salads. So the chicken salad, tuna salad with mayonnaise, y'all better put that in a cooler or in ice. So don't expect me to eat it, because I'm not trying to get food poisoned. You have to be very careful in the heat and how you pack your food. And so these are just some of the tips on staying cool. And they mentioned the people who, were out of power, didn't have air conditioning. People who are very elderly and very young, pregnant women, these are the people who are at high risk of passing away from heat-related illnesses. And so if you happen to be in a home where you don't have air conditioning, whether it's because of their power has gone out, or maybe you just didn't pay your bill, I don't care. There's no shame. Make sure that, especially in the hottest hours of the day, like between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., go someplace where it's cool, like a public library, the mall. Okay. You are allowed to be there. So please don't sit in your hot, non-air conditioned house in the hottest hours of the day. Get up. And especially if you have elderly people in your home, little children in your home, take them to cool places. So those are some safety tips and some warning signs. After you finish this live, make sure you watch my on IG. Hey, y'all, over there on IG, that's where I put how to stay safe in the heat. So I have these tips there. I have them on Facebook as well to my Facebook watchers. And for my folks in the replay, you can head there for those safety tips.
Dr. Fisher, Frita, Roni added one that we did not mention.
Hi.
Remain in shaded areas if you have to be outside.
Absolutely. So yes, so Roni, you want to avoid being outside from the hot hours, but if you have to be, stay in shaded areas. And another thing, Roni, I'm glad you said this, specifically shaded areas that are grassy, because if you're on the concrete, especially like the white or light concrete, that can make the temperature feel hotter than it really is. So staying in cool areas, shaded, be it shaded by trees, by tents, and in grassy areas if you can. That's a good one. That's a good one. Also, you want to really be aware of humidity, because when you're in places that have high humidity, then your body is not able to release the heat the way it normally would. Okay. The humidity will make your temperature in your body higher than what it would be. And so beware if you're in a humid area. That's different than even dry heat. Thank you. That was a good one.
Yeah. And Dr. Frita, I'll leave with this one. This is from Laura. Good tip
Laura.
Here. Keep your pets cool. If it's too hot for you, it's hell for them unless they're in.
That is so smart. Thank you. Keep your pets cool. Keep your pets cool. So if you walk your dogs, walk them in the early mornings, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., before it gets really hot, or well after 4 p.m., like 5, 6 p.m. to make sure that you're taking care of your pets and you don't have them out here falling out and passing out in the name of doggy land. Also make sure that your pets stay well hydrated, and don't leave your pets in the car with the windows up. Just don't leave your pets in the car, okay? If you have to go to the store, leave your pets to your house. Leave them in the home. Don't leave your pets in the car. Don't leave your children in the car. Don't leave elderly folks in the car. Don't leave pregnant women in the car if you don't have air conditioning or someone who's there who can keep it cranked up with air conditioning. Because yes, if it's hot for you, it's down. Oh, honey, it's HE double toothpick for them. That's a very great point. Oh, I love y'all med heads. Y'all come on to the front of the class. Those are great points. Those are great points. All right. So as we close out, Shador, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to our med heads. I'm going to say thank you to you, Shador. But I actually want to play the promo one more time for the Truth Talks and remind folks that it's in the description and it's also in the chat. I thank y'all for watching right here on our Medical Monday. We talk about a lot of celebrity health news and we relate it to ourselves so we can have our happiest, healthiest lives. I thank y'all for being here and thank you for making Monday your healthiest day of the week. And I'm looking for y'all tonight, 8 p.m. Come right on back here to my YouTube channel. Be active in the chat. I'm really needing your support for this Medical Monday on Truth Talks Live tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, let's take it away and I'll see y'all tonight. In case you haven't heard, I need you to slide on over to YouTube weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and join at Truth Talks -Live. Why? Because your favorite doctor, me, Dr. Frita, is the newest co-host on Truth Talks Season 2. I'm joining pop culture icon Teray and viral sensation Dr. Cheyenne Bryant every week for the new Truth Talks Medical Mondays segment. And trust me, this is not your regular talk show or podcast. We're talking the truth that they don't want you to hear on politics, culture, the streets, our health, the system. We've got it all. I need all my people, my fans, my family, to hit that subscribe button and bell so you know when we're going live. It's exclusive, it's unfiltered, and it says what others won't. So what are you waiting on? Join the conversation. Truth Talks Live, weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on YouTube, right after Roland Martin's Unfiltered.